Hi guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you my 6th Mystery History Talk. I wanted to start out by letting you know that there's now a playlist of all my Mystery History Talks in case you're interested. I'll link it up in the cards, and you can also find it on my channel page. I've been doing Mystery History Talks since 2018, which is pretty cool. So let's get to the newest addition to the playlist. Yeah? As you may have noticed, I love reading about strong women in history, so I'm excited that both of my Mystery History Talks this year will feature women detectives from the early 1900s that changed the name of the game for women. First up is Grace Winterton Quackenboss Humiston, a New York lawyer who practiced from 1905 into the 1930s. Grace Humiston was a wealthy woman, having first entered law school with the intention of learning enough law to help her in managing her estate. She interned with the Legal Aid Society of New York and became interested in assisting with the legal problems of the poor and of the immigrant. She opened the People's Law Firm in 1905. Because she was independently wealthy, she did not have to charge much, which allowed anyone who needed it to utilize her services. One of the first important cases Grace worked on was that of Antoinette Tola. Tola was a woman that was accused of killing the wealthiest man in her small New Jersey town, who was known for making inappropriate advances to young women. Tola was sentenced to death in her first trial, but when her friends wrote Grace about the case, Grace quickly discovered that important evidence, the murder weapon, a gun, had not been retrieved from the coroner's office. Tola had been convicted of shooting the man at point-blank range in the back of the head, but Grace found that the ballistics showed Antoinette and her attacker had been fighting face-to-face. Grace was able to reduce Antoinette's sentence to only 7 years in prison with her new discoveries. The Tola case was important for Grace's development as a lawyer. In law school, her mentor, Dean William Ashley, had emphasized having good logic when building a case. Simply rely on the facts and develop a logical conclusion from them. The Tola case showed Grace that you had to have more than facts. You had to have quick thinking and imagination too. These lessons helped Grace when she began investigating Sunnyside Plantation in Arkansas. It was the worst of multiple peonage operations that she investigated. Peonage is where people are paid for their work, but the company they're working for takes so much for supplies, rent, paying back travel expenses, etc., that the workers actually constantly owe the company money and thus can never get out of their employment. Grace investigated turpentine camps and other peonage operations in addition to Sunnyside. She was later named a district attorney for the United States for her work on these issues. She was the first female district attorney ever in the United States, and peonage cases were her special focus in that role as well. Sunnyside ended up not being broken up as the government suppressed her report on the terrible conditions there due to the power of its owners, but it gradually began to lose steam as countries, most notably Italy, began encouraging immigrating citizens not to go there. The case that Grace is most known for, and the case that my source material, Mrs. Sherlock Holmes by Brad Ricca, is most concerned with, is that of Ruth Kruger. On February 13, 1917, 18-year-old Ruth Kruger went out to pick up her skate blades that she had left at the local motorcycle shop to be sharpened and never came home again. Her parents were away on a trip, but her older sister Helen became concerned and after visiting all the places she thought Ruth might be, telegraphed them to come home. It started off a chain of events that would have wide implications for the New York police. Almost immediately, the family suspected the owner of the motorcycle shop, Alfredo Cacci. Ruth's father wanted the police to put him under surveillance. Her parents insisted that Ruth was a very modest, good girl, but the police found that she had gotten into a cab with an unknown man on the day she went missing. They had searched the basement of the motorcycle shop and not found anything. They also discovered that she had had multiple interactions with various college men that her parents had known nothing about. The police considered her a runaway. She had either gotten annoyed with her parents or she had gone off to get married. But then Alfredo Cacci went missing. And then Ruth's father rode around in multiple cabs until he found the driver who had driven Ruth and the unknown man. Ruth had been crying and unhappy about getting into the cab. It became clear that Ruth had been kidnapped. There was a lot of fear in New York at this time about white slavery. White girls were disappearing and being forced to engage in sexual activity. Many people thought that Ruth was one of these girls. The family decided to hire Grace Humiston as a result. Grace immediately found issues with the way the case had been handled. While the Krueger family had called the police on February 14th, the police hadn't even assigned the case to an officer until a full 24 hours later. When Grace looked at the call log, though, she found that the entry regarding the call about Ruth's disappearance had been tampered with to make it appear that the police had started working on the case as soon as they got the call. She also learned that Cochi's shop was where all of the motorcycle police got their bikes repaired. Cochi had been involved with a ticket-fixing scheme with several motorcycle policemen as well. And finally, despite the police searching the basement under the shop twice, when her men searched, they found multiple new pieces of evidence, culminating in the discovery of Ruth's body under the floorboards. It became apparent that the police had not tried very hard to solve the case, as they wanted to protect their friend Cochi. It also caused a backlash against the police and a resurgence of interest in the white slavery cases. How many cases were unsolved due to police incompetence? The case inspired Grace to form the Morality League of America, which was focused on ending white slavery and protecting young girls from harm. The police department later held an internal investigation, and there was a grand jury hearing. Alfredo Cacci had been found in Italy and was sentenced to prison for the murder there. The United States tried to have him extradited, but World War I prevented it. He was released from prison in 1947. Grace continued to work on her Morality League, but she became convinced that military boot camps built during World War I were becoming epicenters of new methods of gaining recruits for white slavery operations. This was unpopular during the war, and she lost some of the clout and power she had gained from the Krueger case. She later resigned her district attorney post due to the backlash and focused her attention back on her law firm. She died in 1948 at the age of 77. When Grace graduated law school in 1903, there were 12 women in her class. Despite her intelligence and the wide variety of cases she worked on, I've only barely scraped the surface here. Most often, her gender and her appearance were the things most written about in the newspapers. She began dressing in all black after her mother died in 1911, and this became her trademark. She had a passion for helping young girls and was driven to do this work even when it did not help her career. Brad Ricca points out in the epilogue that Grace never wrote any kind of diary or memoir or personal notes. Everything we have from her directly comes from newspapers, her case notes, and things she told other people that they later wrote down. Grace was interested in doing things, not recording them. She wanted to make an impact, and she did. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Grace Humiston. I'll be back soon with my second Mystery History Talk. I hope you are reading some great mysteries, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!